What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. Today it's going to be a very basic Ninfoniel and primarily just Rengokutsu, as this is what Etheria kind of advertised either her or Batsby about. Now, if you do want to see me test her in other areas, as well as my initial thoughts on Batsby, I'll be summoning and testing those characters more. I'm going to boot up the live stream right after this if you want to hang out. Test her in PvP and probably some other modes, but I did do some initial testing and I have a lot of thoughts on this character, at least for Rengokutsu Inferno. So we're going to go through all that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's just jump straight into it. Now, real quick before we begin, guys, let me know if you already summoned for Ninfoniel and Batsy, how your summons went. For Ninfoniel, I'll show on screen here. We actually did get pretty lucky, and I think I got her in about 30 to 40 summons. I think it was around 30. So very grateful I didn't have to go to pity. Usually in this game, I am not nearly as lucky as in other games. So let me know how your summons go. But we did end up picking up in 30. So that's going to save me some summons. And I'm going to summon for Batsby right after as I do some testing later. That being said, though, Ninfoniel and Batsby were advertised as characters that should be good against Inferno Rengokutsu. I don't know which one exactly. I'm thinking they're leaning more towards Ninfoniel. I will try some Batsby later, but he's not really my type of unit, and I assume he's going to need more lattices. So all the testing today with Ninfoniel is going to be with 0 lattice. I did level her to 6 stars. However, some of my testing, I left her at level 1, and then for later testing, I did level her up to 50 to see if I needed that extra barrier strength, just to make the runs more consistent. And I'll talk about more of that in a second. Second off, though, I did not run any Lily. For 2 reasons. One, just, you know, people always complain if you have Lily in your comps. And then hopefully you guys have something like D-Ting, Lilium, or Yelly, one of the better DPS that have come out since then. And if you don't have anything, guys, then I don't really know what to tell you. You should have at least the D-Ting, so I'm going to show a D-Ting comp that has no Lily, right? And if you picked up Kloss from the Wishbinder, then you should be good to go with that. So let's go ahead and just talk about Ninfoniel real quick. I'll show you guys the gear that I was rocking. Now, keep in mind, this is very strong gear. If you haven't already watched my Module Forge guide, go and check that out. That'll help you guys get some pieces of gear. But in general, I don't think you need this much speed. I just, you know, with no lattices, I wanted to make sure the runs for you guys were at least shown to clear. Now, the better gear you have, the better stats you have, you're going to be more consistent. But the very nice thing is, for example, on my Kloss here, when we're not running something like Lily, I actually think, I think I was like at 280 earlier. That's actually going to be slower than the ads. And if you didn't know, in Rengokutsu, it is nice to be faster than the ads. They, one, do a lot of damage, and 2, they have a chance to like silence you. They do different types of debuffs, but the silence is the one you want to watch out for. For example, if Kloss gets silenced before her turn, then, you know, it's probably a dead run. The nice thing is, though, if your Ninfoniel is fast enough, right? So make sure she's, you know, I think it's around, I don't know the exact number, 285 to 290-ish, I believe, without any speed up, to make sure we go before the ads. Just do your own initial testing around that breakpoint. As long as she goes first, she'll apply immunity to the team, in which case it's going to block those ads from giving you those silences. That's one nice thing about Ninfoniel. Now, this is the gear. Once again, you don't have to be this statted up. Just the more stats you will eventually get, the more consistent your runs will be. Once again, we are at 0 lattice. I didn't want to, you know, include any lattice just yet, as I think for support characters especially, one of the hallmarks of them being, you know, a good unit. If she is indeed good for Rengo, hopefully she works on 0 lattice. And then if we want to like one shot or really like 30 to 40 second speed clear, then maybe we invest some extra gold tofus into this character. But for now, all my testing has been done with 0 lattice. Just up to this point. For, you know, the extra HP I think is nice for barriers, especially the less geared you are, guys. You want to level her max and get her as high HP with HP on the right side. I don't even have HP percent here. Honestly, I could probably drop some speed to get HP percent here, but I had a Swift Raid piece ready with nice speed, so might as well. That's going to give you better barriers, and just to make sure there are chances that Rengo will one-shot you. But overall, initial testing wise, oh sorry, last thing real quick. Sorry about this, Shellix. I haven't cleared out my inventory yet. In terms of the Codex of Magic, I know it is a little weird to show off Codex for a, you know, a boss or a unit that's supposed to help us kill a boss that drops this. But just keep in mind, you don't have to do Inferno. You don't need an Inferno Codex of Magic. Just use whatever you have. So if you have like a Codex that is, you know, just level 40 with no Inferno capabilities, that's just fine. A lot of y'all can farm non-Inferno Rengo until you get one of these. Just, you know, and then you can always replace it into a perfect one or whatever. This isn't even perfect. This is more PvP. But you guys get what I'm saying. You can get a better version later with higher passives and higher base stats. But in general, I don't even think she needs the Codex to work. It's just, it does make sense to rock this honor the shorter the combat is, and we want to shoot for slower or faster clears the more geared we get. Codex is just such a powerhouse shell, so try to aim for that in general. All right, so for the first run here, I have a Lilium Yelly combo. This is going to be for people that have both. You know, you could replace Lilium with Deeting, but in general, the idea is 2 DPS plus Kloss, and Ninfoniel should hopefully give us enough damage between the attack up honor skills, as well as enough survivability to kind of survive long enough so that we can nuke the boss down. So a lot of times in these kind of compositions, I'll show you guys one after this, you want to prefer having more survivability if you don't have enough damage to kind of nuke through, but Ninfoniel's extra attack plus your HP equalizer, and then that early immunity, like I said, kind of just smooths out the run quite a bit if your gear is good enough. So I think things like Lilium, I tried with Deeting. Deeting was a little bit rougher, but in general, this is a nice, fast 44-second clear. Now, this next one I'm going to show y'all is in case you don't have something like Yelly or Lilium and all you have is like a Deeting. I still think Ninfoniel could be good even on 0 lattice. So this is going to be kind of our old school comp. But instead of anything like Lily, instead of something like Ling Lo, we're going to use Ninfoniel here to kind of give us more damage. I think in case your Kloss is slower, like I said earlier, having that early immunity, as long as you get your Ninfoniel speed up, is kind of good too. So let's say you only have one good speed set, you can put that in Ninfoniel, have Kloss a little slower, and at least the immunity will protect her there. This is kind of just a comp that I think has a lot of different variations to it. I think Ling Lo, something like Valerian, which is pretty much the two characters that Ninfoniel is kind of comboed after. And after we watch this run, I'm going to give my overall thoughts on Ninfoniel and in terms of like, was she a good design for, you know, people to clear Rengo. But if you guys don't have, you know, one of the more powerhouse Apex characters, then you can still see here like Deeting is just fine. It is just a much slower clear as we're doing solo DPS, and we want some redundancy between, you know, the Vice healing attack break, the Claw speed down plus her, what do you call it, the hacking, and then Ninfoniel is going to provide that extra bit of healing plus hopefully give Deeting enough, you know, bang to get the boss down in a reasonable amount of time. But if you have these kind of units, guys, you can try this out. My only issue is I think that people have been doing Deeting clears without Ninfoniel. But the fact that this is still 0 lattice, I do think this is a little faster and more consistent than the previous runs. Now, is that enough to pull for this character solely? Probably not. And that's where we're going to talk about, you know, my overall thoughts as soon as we finish this. In general, though, I do think if I was a newer player and I didn't have like, or if I, you know, didn't want to use Ling Lo here, or let's say I wanted to use Ninfoniel in other areas of the game like PvP, I do think she does make this significantly better, just maybe not enough alone, but I'll test more with lattices, and then I do want to test in like the Lily comps as well. All right, talking about lattices real quick, I did mention I was running on 111, and I recommend you guys do the same until you figure out if you need the extras. If you do want to invest in her, because I do think she's going to be much stronger outside of just Rengokutsu, things like PvP, I feel like she's going to be great. I think the S3 is the no-brainer option for both PvE and PvP because it gives you just more shields, and in Rengo, you know, if the less geared you are, you can definitely still get one shot, especially if you're a little bit slower, as we try to run more offensive comps to capitalize on the Rhyme Bloom attack boost. And speaking of, you also not only get more survivability, but you also get more attack percent boost as well. I believe it's 30% right at base, as I say here. Oh, 25%. So it's actually a pretty big increase on getting the level 2 here. That could be a nice break point. Getting the cooldown and the extra barrier is nice as well. And don't forget, you also get HP to make that barrier strength, the shield strength, even stronger. Beyond that, though, it's your typical, you can get speed if you really want. If you're going to plan to use her in PvP like I do, I think I will probably have to pick these up just to make sure I can get that early immunity down, because if I get hit with like something like buff block, it's going to be very, very annoying. But in general, I think go ahead and just start with skill 3. If anything, like skill 2 reminds me of Valerian. I don't think this is very impactful in the long run, but if we do plan to use her a crap ton, like if she does end up being one of my most used units, then of course I might consider investing later on. It's just while lattices are super rare at the moment, be very careful with what you invest into. I feel like S3 could be a nice break point, especially if you guys are rocking the double DPS, but try her first on 1-on-1 and then scale it from there. Last thing real quick I want to talk with y'all about is this little book icon. If you didn't see in one of their best patches they've had, that it was the loadout patch and all that, there is this new strategy section. You just click this little book right here on the right hand side, and you can see all the teams currently running. So in case you ever need to, you know, filter out if I didn't show y'all something, I did try to not include Lily, but let's say you want to use Lily in some of your comps like I was mentioning, you could just filter this. And I do believe Lily is still used in the faster clears, as you guys can see here. They even drop Kloss for more offense with something like Dina, who, you know, I've also converted to for things like Aurora. So the more your gear progresses, you'll actually be dropping certain characters. And it looks like Ninfoniel here is being used alongside Yeli and Deeting, although I'm pretty sure Lilium could work here in Deeting's spot, if not better. Maybe this player just doesn't have it or something I'm missing. But in general, I think Ninfoniel will be a great upgrade in everybody's arsenal in terms of what to have, just in case you want to speed clear. She's also works on 0 lattice, like I was showing y'all, even in the slower composition. So I do think she is a great unit overall. Now, is she going to make everybody's life a million times easier in terms of just Rengo clearing? Not really. I do think you still need some decent gear on her. And the fact that, you know, Rengokutsu is just such an RNG riddled boss and is pretty difficult for a lot of newer players, I don't think she's going to make it a complete breeze. Now, is that a good, bad thing? I don't know. I still would have preferred, like I said at the start of the video, that they kind of just toned down his stats. But in case you were thinking about picking up this unit, I do think the Rengo part of the kit is good enough to justify it. Now, I do think she's going to be very good in PvP as well. Just for the immunity, I have a lot of plans to try this unit out. And so I think for those reasons, she is good to grab. Just if you were looking for something that's going to be like an absolute monster powerhouse unit, like solo hand carries the boss, I still think overall you still need like the right composition. You still need pretty good gear. So her impact there is, even though she might become best in slot, it's not quite as good as I thought they were going to make her just for Rengo. But overall, I think that's fine. Just, you know, I don't want to keep harping on it. I just think there was other directions to go for in terms of making it easier. But in case you guys want to use a unit, I do think she is good for both Rengo, and I'm pretty sure she's going to be good in PvP as well. Her kit is completely stacked, and I think these units that kind of do the job of multiple other units will always have a spot, at least in the current meta. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys have a good look on your summons, and if you want to watch me test this character in PvP, other PvE scenarios, as well as pull for Batsby, and maybe try him out too, stop by the live streams later. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.